Welcome to growing your own food in your own backyard. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to hit the like button. This is my Eastern Concord grapevine, and it's time to harvest the grapes and cut back on the leaves. So let's get started. Trying to keep your grapes protected from the critters and the birds is really necessary. So I use an insect mesh covering to keep the grapes protected. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking the covering off. As you can see, I have a huge grapevine here, and some of the grapes are already ready for harvest. Others are going to need to have these leaves trimmed back so the sun can get to some of the grapes that are still green that still need to ripen. So let me go get my pruners and let's get started. This Concord grapevine is actually growing on a training system. So I'm using what they call a cordon training system at the top. You'll see the top wires once I start pruning back the grapevine, and then the bottom wire is a spur training system. So if you're growing grapevines, you want to make sure that it's trained. Also, every year you want to give those grapevines a hard pruning. In the picture, you'll literally see just how this grapevine was literally bare, because right around early May I gave it a hard pruning. Had I not given it a hard pruning, this grapevine would have been a tangled mess. So that's another tip that you want to also consider, is prior to growing your grapevines, make sure that you're giving it a hard pruning. As you can see, just as I noted, look at just all of the aggressive growth on this grapevine. The other thing that this grapevine is subject to rust fungus because of the sun and the heat and the sun rays that we end up getting here in zone 5B with elevation at 5,200 feet above sea level. Is we have a tendency to get this rust fungus, and so keeping the insect mesh covering over the grapevines will allow it to get shelter from the intense sunlight we get here in Colorado. And this also creates a lot of uneven ripening on the grapes. So I just wanted to give you a little background about this grapevine. It's 15 years old. I started training it in the second year. It has done well over time. I have been able to gather knowledge about some of the best ways to grow a healthy grapevine, and that's hard pruning right at early spring. Tips I like to offer is, in addition to providing a really hard pruning on your Eastern Concord grapevine, is, as you can see, there's this rust fungus right here that's trying to start. This is super typical in our climate because we're 5,200 feet above sea level, and the sunlight is so intense that it does cause these rust fungus. So what I do is protect the intense sunlight from actually affecting the grapevine. So this is some of the challenges I have incurred growing grapevine here in our zone 5B, 5,200 feet above sea level. The covering shelters out some of the intense sunlight to keep the grapes vine healthy. Other than that, making sure it's under a good training system, keeping it a hard prune, keeping it covered, fertilize it right at the beginning of spring, give it ample water, and you'll have a nice grapevine to be able to produce productive grapes. So I'm going to go ahead and start the pruning. I want to make sure that I'm not cutting any of the branches that have the fruits on it. So again, this is way overdue. So for example, you can see that this branch has green grapes on it. This branch has grapes on it up here. So I don't want to prune that, but I want to get a lot of these branches off the ground. So unfortunately, I must have pruned a branch with some of the green grapes, but that's okay. I have plenty to harvest. So now we're gonna go over on the other side and start pruning the other side. You can see, look at these grapes. This is all ready to be harvested. Look at that. That's all ready to be harvested, but I've got to get some of these branches out of the way in order to get it harvested. Look at this. See this? Look at that. That's ready to be harvested. Look at this. That's ready to be harvested. This is ready to be harvested. That's ready to be harvested. So oh my gosh, here's more grapes over here. So you can see I've got quite a bit of production here. So this is a good thing. So what I'm gonna do next, now that I've got some of these branches out of the way, what I want to do is I want to start harvesting, and then once I finish harvesting, then I can finish pruning. So let me start harvesting right now that I was able to trim back some of these vines and branches on this grapevine to expose the fruits that are ready for harvesting. This Eastern Concord grape is super sweet. It is seeded, but this is the type of grapes that you can make wine with, you can make juice with. I love just eating them whole. They're extremely sweet and they're absolutely vine ripened. Now it's time to start harvesting. It looks like I'm having a bountiful harvest. Just on this one side, you can see all of the grapes that are ready. And what's so nice is they're all uniformly ripened. Now, as you can see, I still have green grapes right here. And so what I will continue doing is pruning back some of these vines so that the sunlight can get to those green grapes so I can start harvesting that. As you can see, that's a real nice one right there. And again, I do have to cut back on some of the leaves and the vines just to get at the grapes. So let me continue harvesting these grapes and I'll get right back to you. This is the beginning of my harvest. I still have much more to harvest, and I'll do that later on this evening when it gets cool. I still have a couple of bunches of grapes that are still green, but with pruning back a lot of the leaves, the sun's going to be able to get to those green grapes and turn them gray. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button.